Hey, this is Ben Bodkin. Thank you for joining me for this video. As some of you may or may not know, I actually, in addition to doing software review videos and stuff on YouTube, I actually have an educational site called Forte Composer Academy, where I have a couple of educational courses, MIDI study packs, a few things for just extended learning for composers beyond just the stuff on my YouTube channel here. In spring of 2019, so 3 years ago now, I launched Forte Composer Academy with two long format courses. One was called How to Compose with MIDI and Virtual Instruments, which is basically an introductory course on how to get set up with all the hardware and software you need to write music on a computer. I explain things like virtual instrument control, how to use a DAW, and how to write a piece of music from beginning to end. And that was about 15 hours of material. And I released another course called Film Scoring for Beginners, which was also pretty hefty, about 10 hours. And that was basically on, well, the process of film scoring for beginners, the practices, sort of some of the philosophy behind it, and with a specific angle on how to do film scoring in the world of indie films, which is probably where most people are going to be getting their feet wet when they first jump into this field. Today, I'm excited to share 5 new announcements about the way I'm doing educational courses, packaging them, producing them, pricing them, etc. on my website. New announcement number 1. I am actually going to be lowering the regular non-sale price of all of my course material. I was running into the problem where even though the original course price of $475 US per course, I think was worth it for the amount of material you got, which was quite a lot, I was sort of creating a problem, which was that the people I was making these courses for are beginners, and they're people who are on the introductory end, the starting end of their composing journey, and people who are just starting out are kind of well known for not having a lot of cash to throw around. So while it's still a bit of a chunk, I'm going to drop the regular non-sale price per course from $475 down to $300 per course. And I'm not completely sure if it'll always stay there, but that'll be the new normal price for at least a good while. I also have a bundle, which is both of those courses and my first 2 MIDI study packs. Used to be priced at $780. That's dropping down to $500 as the new normal non-sale price. Announcement number 2. For the next month, in addition to the new regular price drop, I'm actually going to be doing an additional 20% off sale on all course material, kind of in honor of all these changes and all these announcements that I'm making. So those 3 products I mentioned, that bundle will go down from $500 to $400 for the next month. And then those 2 individual courses will drop from $300 to $240. And again, that price is just for the next month. Announcement number 3, the course How to Compose with MIDI and Virtual Instruments included a lot of info on software and hardware. Some of it was getting a little bit outdated. So I also did a fresh update of a lot of that material. We recorded a lot of new stuff so that the software and hardware recommendations are much more current. And I also created new artwork. That doesn't, I don't know if that deserves its own announcement, but the old artwork for these courses was pretty embarrassing, so I updated it. Announcement number 4 relates to how I'm going to be categorizing my courses from here on out. I was running into a problem with these courses where people would buy them, but they weren't always totally clear on how advanced or how basic the instruction was. And some people would say, hey, this course was more advanced than I'm looking for. Some people said, hey, this is actually more elementary than I'm looking for. I already know most of this stuff. So, I'm a little disappointed in the product. It's not really the best fit for me. And so even though I tried to have good information on the sales page for each course that indicated the complexity level, apparently it's still something that was fairly easy to miss or just wasn't completely clear. So something I'm going to be doing from here on out is, if you look in the upper right-hand corner of the artwork, you will notice it says Composer Roadmaps. The Composer Roadmaps is the new label I'm going to be using for all of my courses that are on the more introductory side of sort of introductory to intermediate end of the skill spectrum. So kind of like a roadmap, which is more zoomed out and is intended to take you from point A to point B quickly. This is kind of the philosophy behind the more introductory courses. So if it's one of those basic to intermediate sort of broad strokes courses, you'll see up in the right-hand corner, it'll say Composer Roadmaps. I'm also planning to introduce fairly soon, I don't have any of these produced yet, but a second line of courses, and these will be called the Composer Blueprints courses. Now, as opposed to a roadmap, which is more zoomed out, a blueprint is much more zoomed in and is much more detailed and specific. So these courses are supposed to be more focused deep dives on a specific technique with producing sample performance and realism or composing or something like that. And these are going to be on the more intermediate to advanced end of the spectrum. So keep your eyes peeled for those products coming hopefully in the not too distant future. The fifth and final announcement, and probably the one I'm most excited about, is that the How to Compose with MIDI and Virtual Instruments course will now be offered not only as a all-in-one purchase, you buy the whole course, but it'll also be available in individual volumes, individual modules. A problem I was running into with that one is it was such a wide breadth of instruction, 15 hours. And it was basically had three chunks to it. The first chunk was the most basic information about what hardware and software you need to build a music workstation. And also there were software and hardware recommendations. The second chunk was how to use a DAW basics and how to control virtual instruments. And the third chunk was instruction on composing process, where basically I write a piece of music from beginning to end and explain everything that I'm doing. Now, some people were getting that course and saying, hey, this part is really helpful, but I wasn't really needing this chunk, or this chunk was helpful, but I wasn't really needing this one. Some people recommended, hey, why don't you split it up and make it modular so that people can buy just the chunk that you needed. So that is what I have done. Volume 1 is called Everything You Need to Know to Set Up a MIDI Workstation. And this is the most basic volume of the most basic Composer Roadmaps series. This is basically for people who want to get into writing music for, could be for media or whatever, but that they want to write music on computers, but they have no idea how to go about it. And maybe they feel overwhelmed by all the different software and hardware options, and they're not sure, do I need like a sound card? What kind of keyboard do I need? It's basically the most elementary explanation for what all these things do and how they work together that I wish I had when I was first starting out. And I also have software and hardware recommendations for people just starting out based on budget. So if you have a low budget, it's this, a mid-tier budget, this, more of a entry-level professional budget, here are the recommendations for you. This course is about 90 minutes of video instruction in about 10 lessons. Now, there are actually two different ways that you can acquire this course. The first option is for free, and that is to get it as an email course. So basically what that means is every day you will receive an email with one of the 10 lessons in it. And by the end of the 10 days, you've gotten all of the information for the entire course in a step-by-step fashion. But I'm also offering it for $50 as a buy it at once, access the whole thing, all at once option if you don't want to wait for that entire 10 days. Although even that $50 option, because of the intro sale, is 20% off too. So for the next month, that buy it all at once option is $40. I should add for the email course thing, I've never done an email course before. There's a possibility that after doing this for a while, I might decide to not do that option anymore. So just a heads up, that could be a limited time thing only. It could be something I do forever, but just so you know. The second volume is Virtual Instrument and DAW Control 101. So this is things like how to use a DAW, how to create, set up, manage, build templates, common parameters for controlling virtual instruments, and just some things you need to know about how sample libraries are often offered, how to use the different types of articulation. So this is all kind of the 101 range basic introductory explanation for how you're actually going to use these tools in practice. That one's about 3 hours of material over 9 lessons. The regular price is $125 and the sale price for the next month is $100. Volume 3 is composing a piece from beginning to end. Now, this was probably the most controversial segment of that course because it's pretty long. I write a piece of music called The Heart of a Hero from beginning to end, and I explain everything behind my entire process. But that means it's kind of long. So some people said, this is longer than I want to spend. It's feeling a little bit slow. I want something a little more concise. Some people said, oh, this is great. I love the format. I love looking over your shoulder and seeing everything that you do. That one's about 11 hours across 13 lessons, I think. And the standard price is $175 and the sale price for that one is $140. The idea behind that one is that as I go through my entire process, step by step, I encourage you to do the exact same thing with a composition of your own. So when I start conceptualizing and planning my piece, I say, okay, no, you do the same with the things that I've taught you about concept and planning. And then when we get to the melody chunk, I write a melody. I say, hey, using the information you've learned about melody writing, make your own. And we go step by step, from structuring it, starting the orchestration and arrangement process, fine-tuning performances, and then finishing up with mixing and mastering. So when the idea of that course is when you get to the end, you actually have a completed piece of music of your own. So you have not just finished the course, but you actually have something to show for it. And hopefully the instruction is actually better this way because you're implementing what you're learning in essentially real time as you go. And hopefully it's not just head knowledge that you end up forgetting because it was never directly or quickly applied in a tangible way. If you already own the larger course, How to Compose with MIDI and Virtual Instruments, you already have access to all of the content in these 3 courses. And there's one other benefit you get if you get that larger course is I also offer complimentary critique of the piece of music you come up with as one of the perks of that course. So that's another benefit to getting the larger course instead of buying it chunk by chunk. And that's it for my 5 new announcements for Forte Composer Academy and how I'm doing courses. That intro sale is only on for the next month. So if you're intrigued, go over to fortecomposeracademy.com and check it out. If you're not intrigued, I don't know why you watched this far into the video, but thank you for watching anyway. And I look forward to seeing you in the next video.